Okay, welcome to today's NFDI talk. This episode is about the development of a research data management strategy for the field of sports science. Today's speaker, Dr. Katja Klemm, is an academic employee and coordinates the research data management projects at the Sports Institute of the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. Since 2021, she has been leading the project team of the first sports science repository, More Data, on which the new project to establish and research data center on motor performance is based. She's also part of the leadership team of the ad hoc committee Research Data Management of the German Society of Sports Science. So welcome, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I immediately start my presentation and hope everybody sees now the slides.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, I'm really glad that I am able to present some research from our small discipline in comparison to others. The example of sports science regarding the RDM strategy. And I'm standing here now and I'm talking, but I'm representing a big project group. So Hannah, she's also there at the Zoom meeting. So later when we have some questions, maybe she can also answer some if there are some I can't answer. So now I start, and what we are talking about today is, as the title says, I start with a short introduction in RDM in an interdisciplinary field, and then go into detail in our story, how we started the RDM at the Sports Institute at KIT, and then we go from the detail back to the big one, the picture of the sports science and their RDM perspectives as an example for an interdisciplinary field. And then we have hopefully some time for discussion and open questions, and I'm looking forward. So let's start with the RDM in an interdisciplinary field. And I just want to show you one diagram, and it shows data types. And the question is, are these data types used in one, or are these data types used in more than one discipline? Just read the different data types and think, which discipline could this be? I can tell you these are results of an unpublished online survey. I tell you later more about this. And I can tell you that these data types are just the data types which occur in sports science. So a broad variance of data types, and it shows a little bit the characteristic of sports science. And the great variance is also shown. We have quantitative and qualitative data. We have different formats. We use different software. We study different levels of sensitivity in the data. We have very small data sets and very large data sets. So, and a lot of more. I can't tell all variability, but just to keep this in mind for the next few minutes. And what was this online survey about? It was an online survey in the German-speaking sports science. We did this last year. It was an online survey with, we did it with SoSci survey. And just that you know who answered this one, I just have a short introduction to the sample. It was a broad sample, so we don't just have professors or just PhDs, so we have the whole academic career in this. And what we also have is a broad variety of affiliations. Maybe some of you, sports psychology is very common, I think, and sports medicine, especially those who get injured at sport, know sports medicine. But there are a lot of more sub-disciplines in this small discipline of sports science. And if you keep this in mind, and think about, okay, how is RDM done in this fields? You maybe see sports psychology. There is psychology, which are very active in the RDM field. And sociology is also very active, but there are some smaller ones. They are not very active. So there are very great differences in their RDM expertise, and also in the connections with the NFDI consortia. So there are those consortia where they're very clear. I think they are somehow linked to sports science. So first of all, I have to say there's no consortium sports science, but we are linked to some, and there is Consort SWD with the social and the educational sciences, where we are linked to sports science. We have NFDI for health. Sure, health data is very linked to sports science. But if you go into detail in the consortia, you see, and you have the affiliations I showed on the slide before, there are some more consortia where maybe some interesting expertise is there for sports scientists. And I just did, that's just non-scientific work. I just put in the logos and just to see how big and interdisciplinary sports science is also within the NFDI consortia. So with this in mind, if affiliations in mind, and the different types of data, maybe there is an area of conflict if you see this. RDM is an interdisciplinary field. In our case, sports science. On the one hand, we have these big RDM expertise. We have guidelines, work processes, experts at every university in original fields, I call them, like psychology, history, medicine, sociology. And on the other hand, there is maybe, in sports science, I can say there's very less RDM expertise, guidelines, and work process in this one interdisciplinary field. So I just leave this question here, and maybe we can answer it or discuss it at the end. So now I come to our story. How did we start with RDM at the Sports Institute? What was the idea? Why did we do this? Because we have a lot of sports-related projects, and it might be of interest why we are here now. So this is our RDM team. For those of you who don't know our institute, it's very nice there, very green. So if you want to visit, just contact us. And there's a big team with Claudia Niessner and me leading the team. And really looking, we are really happy to have this big team at our institute for the RDM. So how did we start it? What was the beginning? And just very quick, sports science is a big field, you know that now. At our institute, we focus mostly on human motor tests. commonly known in society as fitness. So we have this project where people from small children to elderly people, so everyone is studied with their fitness, like tests like balancing on one leg, sprints, push-ups. Maybe you heard of them somehow in your life. And these tests, or these results of these tests, they were brought together with further data like anthropometric data, age, gender, psychological data, sociological data, and a lot of more, but just very short to have an impression. And so you can imagine there is a big data mountain we show here, which is just at our institute. But there is a lot of more data, or are a lot of more data mountains nationwide and internationally. This is just corporations of our institute. And so we have over 200,000 data from people. And so at some point, and it was in 2013, Klaus Bös and Claudia Niessner at our institute, they raised the question, okay, what do we have to do? What can we do with these big data mountains of our studies and of all the studies at other institutes, universities, nationally and internationally? And they raised the questions, what happens with the data when projects end? And there are a lot of projects in sports science and very short projects. And you know, the characteristic of project is they end somehow. And so the question was, what happens with the data when the projects end? And so they started the project MORI Data, Motor Research Data. It was DFG funded till last year. And it was really special because we had great partners, not just our institute, but we have great expertise in infrastructure, RDM infrastructure with the service team RDM at the KIT. And we established a repository for human motor test data, where also basis data like age, gender, and additional data can be included. We have a scientific board, which is still active, with expertise from sports science and information infrastructure. And we have an external IT company, which does the IT service. So this was the start. And it says repository for human motor test data. And now we have this table in mind from the beginning, where we saw this data in sports science. And now we see the MORI data and data in sports science. So there's really just a very small part of this data in sports science is possible to publish at the repository MORI data. And in the last years, this question was raised over and over again. Is this a problem? Do we want to change something here? And the big question is there a need for maybe an interdisciplinary, in our case, sports science repository? Or is there a need for an RDM infrastructure in sports science? Because we started with this repository, but when you start with this, the whole world of RDM is, lies in front of you. And so we did this decision to get more expertise in this field and to be somehow an advertiser for RDM in the world of sports science. So we started with MORI data, but now there's a lot more at our institute, and we're proud of it. And there's a lot of work for sure, but we were happy. And so we have now, we are part of Consort SWD, and will found a research data center called Motor Performance and Physical Fitness. So we're working on this currently. With one of our studies, we are part of the German Central Health Study Hub by the NFDI for Health. We are part of the editing team of Forschungsdaten.info. I hope everybody knows this page. It's very great. And we are also part of another project. It's called Digital Transformation of Research. It's a science, Leibniz Science Campus. And we represent the use case of sensitive data. So a lot of points where we try to increase our RDM expertise. And one very big point we're very happy about, and we're very glad that we can work with this team, is the ad hoc board research data management at the German Society of Sports Science. And yeah, there's a lot of more small clouds. But now I want to change from this our story to the example of sports science. What are the RDN perspectives? And maybe there are also some perspectives for other small research fields or disciplines as sports science. So the beginning of RDM. I think in sports science, we have this common understanding. Yeah, sure, open access is cool. Open science is very good. We have good research practice, and we all do this, and we like this. But the subject of RDM was not that present in the last years. But then we were asked if we want to take part in application for the NFDI. And it was called Methods. Maybe some of you know this. It was an application in the second NFDI for the consortia, and it was planned as empirical research, as consortia for empirical research on human behavior, and the sports science were in it. And that news first, it wasn't granted, but we met a lot of people of sports science we didn't know before, and which are interested in RDM or work in RDM, and we didn't know. So sadly, it wasn't granted, but it was great to get to know this person and to work with them. And so some other things established out of it. So there's also always a good side on some such thing. And so firstly, we have this connection to Forschungsdaten.info, where we have now the science page just for sports science with all projects regarding RDM and sports science. And we have this ad hoc board, RDM. And this was really a great idea. So out of this group of interested people from which were organized in methods in sports science, there was first this interest group, and then we said, okay, now we want to have this ad hoc board. And so we asked the German Society for Sports Science, and we got an ad hoc board, and it was founded last year. We have 11 steady members from 7 institutions and a lot of more members in the working group. Our one aim is to represent the subject of RDM at conferences, workshops, etc. So last September, we had the first conference. It's a 2-year conference on sports science in Germany, and we had this working group. And we had a very, I think it was a small room in comparison to others, but the room was very full. Some had to stand, so we were very happy to see how much interest there is in our work and in the work of RDM. So this was one part. And we also have these working groups I just mentioned with those 3 subjects. Firstly, RDM guidelines for sports science. We have sensitive data, and we have a working group for best practices. And these just started to work in the beginning of the year. And but before we started these working groups, we wanted to know, is this what we think about RDM and sports science? Is this the reality? Are sports scientists in Germany and other German-speaking countries also thinking about this like we do? So we did this survey. You saw just some results of it. We did a survey on RDM practices and knowledge at the German-speaking sports science community last year. The results of the survey will be published this year, so I keep you updated. And so these are unpublished data, so exclusively now for you. And I think we want to have some time to discuss. So just some, one example of a result for you is we asked the sports scientists how they store their data. They could answer multiple, so there are multiple answers possible. We asked them during their data collection and after their data collection. And with this slide, I don't want to show sports scientists, they have really no idea about RDM, or they're really bad at it. I don't want to do this because I think we're really working on this, and every scientist does his best or her best. And just to give you an impression, what is done at the moment or last year. So it's the state of last year. So firstly named was business computer. Second name was institutional server, which is also okay, I think. Unfortunately for us, as a founder of a repository, repository is not at the top 3. But it just shows there is some work to do. And if I show you the next slide, a lot of them, people who answered this survey, are aware of this. And that's very important. So that means we can work with them. And everything we do will be, heard, hopefully. Because at the end, we asked them for their wishes regarding RDM. And a lot of great ideas came, and a lot of things we can work on. So that's really good, like knowledge about best practice. So we can work on this. Establishing RDM in the discipline, we can work on this. Disciplinary guidelines, sure. IT infrastructure as hardware, maybe not that good, but software, we can work on this. And also at the infrastructure. Human resources is sure an issue. The institutes and universities have to deal with, but there are a lot of points we can work on. So this is very, I think this was one of the great results of this survey, because now we know what to do with our RTalk board and committee. Yeah. So to sum up, I asked in the beginning, is there an area of conflict? Is there not? And I think there might be, but I hope there isn't. And I'm really working on this, shaking hands, because I think if everybody can just profit if those two expertise and working together. And so I'm very optimistic to find a way and a solution, and to get RDM knowledge and expertise, to bring that forward in our interdisciplinary field, and it's not just in our interdisciplinary field, but also in other, maybe also small interdisciplinary field, right? Like we are. So I started with a question, I end with the question, what do you think? And so thank you very much, and looking forward to the discussion and questions. Thank you.
So now we will say goodbye to our YouTube audience. The next talk will be on 6th May, and it will be about IAM for NFDI, and it will be presented by Base for NFDI. So